Here's the biggest difference for me personally, okay? Biggest difference for me is deployment between these two. All right, so maybe you're looking for an EDC gentleman's folder. Well, these are two very good ones, and I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these, but which one's better? Which one's better? So this one right here is the SKALLYWAG Tactical. This is called the Swifttail, okay? And I have a whole review on this knife. This one right here is a newer knife. This is by OKNIFE. So if you're familiar with Olight, like the flashlight company, makes stuff like this, fantastic flashlight, then it's the same parent company. They make red dots for firearms, so that's called O-Sight, and then Olight would be the flashlights, and then OKNIFE. So they're all kind of the same company. But this one right here is called the Aion. I think that's how you pronounce it. A-I-O-N is how it's spelled. So these two knives right here, the reason I'm comparing these for a gentleman's folder, okay, is because they are the same length, just about. They're roughly the same length, same weight, same blade length, all of that, okay? But there's a few very key differences between these, and I want to give you my take on both of these. Now, both of these companies are partners with us on our channel, so full disclosure on that. But I do think I have a favorite well, let me just say it this way. I'm going to talk about the differences, and then you can make up your mind on what you think is a better knife between these two, especially for the price point. That's another big piece of this. Because a gentleman's folder, right? See how these are both kind of slim and sleek kind of designs? You know, they're kind of both minimalist kind of designs here. So that would be different from a knife like a Benchmade Bug Out. So also a great knife, nothing wrong with that. Or an off-grid knife, Stinger EDC, also excellent blade. So you can see these three. I've got another one here. This is also by SKALLYWAG Tactical. This is the Shadowbeard. So these are different, right? So these kinds of EDC knives, different from these type of EDC knives. These are going to be slim profile, more sleek design, and that's why they call them a gentleman's folder, okay? So that's why. So if you're wondering why we call these gentlemen's folders, that's really the big difference, is these are going to be thicker blades, as far as, you know, the height of the blade there. And so a lot of knives like this are going to have that kind of same design. These are going to be different in that kind of way. So I'm going to move these aside over here and talk about these. So like I said, they're about the same length, about 8 inches. They're going to be about the same length of blade on here as well. So you get about 3.5 inches or so of blade, you know, give or take. But I mean, look, it's going to be very, very close, right? So very close to that, very close on the handle length as well between these two. But like I said, I've done a full review on this. Now this is going to be 154 cm steel on here and carbon fiber. This is going to be closer to $200 for this SKALLYWAG tactical knife, okay? Made in China, according to Blade HQ. Actually, they don't say it, you know, unfortunately, SKALLYWAG Tactical does not tell you on the website where it's made, but according to Blade HQ, it's made in China. They do make USA-made knives too, and I've reviewed some of those as well. But I do like this overall very sleek design. Blue anodized backspacer here. Got a little bit of jimping right here. So that's, you know, there's that. This one right here, retail, is $70. So $270. You know? What's the difference? Well, blade steel is a difference. Like I said, 154 cm for this. This right here, the blade steel on this, of course, both are kind of drop point designs, but the blade steel on this is a 14 C28N. Now, for those of you that are nerds with blade steel, in fact, according to knifesteelnerds.com, you can go check them out, knifesteelnerds.com, they say that this blade steel, the 14C, 28N, is the, quote, best budget knife steel available. So, of course, they're both going to be stainless steel because they're EDC knives. I mean, the philosophy we use for the knife like this as a gentleman's folder EDC, everyday carry, is that this is a knife that you're going to keep with you, especially if you're in a business setting, you know, if you wear a suit, nice clothing, something like that. kind of want to dress it up a little bit. That's what these are for. Kind of minimalist, sleek, clean designs like that. So it's not going to be as maybe big, heavy as something like this, one of the other ones. So that's the whole purpose of one of these. You can kind of slip it into your pocket, and it's going to be a lot cleaner look. Not going to really scare anybody, I don't think. I mean, they are kind of longer blade lengths for sure. I mean, 3.5 or so inches roughly. But so that's one big difference is the blade steel. I do prefer this OKNIFE blade steel a little bit more. And I have partnered with Olight and Osight. So Olight with this amazing flashlight Arc Pro here. It just got released this month that I'm posting this, or maybe last month. I'm not sure when I'm posting this, but November 2025. So it just came out. So OKNIFE, I do prefer this blade steel. Now, other big differences between these two knives. Another big difference is on the top. You see the jimping on top. This has forward jimping up here on the OKNIFE, not on the SKALLYWAG. I love SKALLYWAG Tactical as a company for sure. U.S. veterans, all that stuff. But made in China. Both these made in China, actually. So these should be, because they're made in China, budget friendly. This one is, for sure. $200, I'm not sure if that's budget. It's a nice knife. Not doubting, being a nice knife. Of course, they undergo all kinds of rigorous standards and testing and all that stuff. Would I prefer USA made knife? Yeah, sure. All day long, But for the money, I mean, can you always afford a USA knife? No. I mean, because most of them are going to start at around $200 like this. So that's the problem. Look at the difference of the handles here. So on the SKALLYWAG over here on the right, you can see that it is a little bit more grippy, but there's nothing, and there's some chamfering on the top and bottom, but it's very straight, right? Very straight. This one's got a little bit more of a pattern and design to it that I kind of like. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. I'm trying to do this in the light so you can kind of see. It looks like a tiger almost. See that? Now you can get different, this is G10, okay? These handle scales here. You can get other kind, they actually make this knife with different steels and different handle materials. But this is G10, okay? But I kind of like that, right? Got chamfered edges here, so you're not going to have the hot spots anywhere. I mean, it's soft, rounded edges everywhere you look. Both of them, again, the other reason I'm comparing these, they're both deep pocket carry. Look how much the SKALLYWAG sticks out compared to the other one. I do like it's darker though, so that's one advantage I think to the SKALLYWAG. I don't like this. Now again, they make different colors on the OKNIFE. So I'll drop links for both of these down below so you can just go and see. And both of them have a swedge cut out on the top of the blade. This one's a little bit more, both flat ground. You can see drop point kind of design here. But, so both of them are also running on, ball bearings. This is running on ceramic ball bearings. Here's the biggest difference for me, personally, okay? Biggest difference for me is deployment between these two. So if I close both of these up, okay, both are liner lock. So again, another similarity here. Both are liner lock. But here's the difference. Most flipper knives, which I prefer flipper over thumb tab, but most flipper knives are more of a button instead of a light switch. Okay, so any of these other knives that I brought out earlier, this Stinger EDC off-grid knives, when you push that flipper right there, it's gonna be more like a button than a light switch. If I did a light switch, it's not gonna really come out. But if I push it like a button down, it's going to fly out, okay? See the difference? And that's going to be the same for, most of these other kind of flipper type knives. A button, it flies out, okay? So most of them are like that. Here's the difference. The SKALLYWAG is not like that. This one is. So the OKNIFE Aion, I mean, it flies out on those ceramic ball bearings, flies out. I mean, super fast, no doubt, okay? The But this one is more of a light switch, which is the only flipper knife I own that's like this. Now, some of you may prefer this. I don't, personally, but it does come out fast if you know how to flip it. If you flip it like a button, it's going to do that. It's not going to come out. Button, push down, doesn't do anything. But because look at the difference between the flipper, can you see that? The flipper profiles there. Most of them are going to have something like this. Just kind of pointed up, like that. So most of them are going to have something like that. This one does not. The Swifttail does not. Okay, so this is more like a light switch, and you kind of get a little bit of a kick to make it sure it comes out. So I've had this for a number of months, and I've gotten used to doing that. But compared to this, I can just push it, and it flies out. So good job, OKNIFE, on deployment. Really like the deployment on there. The other big thing with every other knife, so I just almost did it right there. Every other knife that you see out, there, you're going to have a center pivot screw. Okay, I mean, like every other knife. I mean, these other ones that I've shown you here today, you're all going to have a center pivot screw. This one does not. Okay, so this one right here is hidden in there, which is an advantage because it's a cleaner look and all that. The disadvantage is if you ever needed to tighten the blade down, you would have to take off the handle scale to be able to do that, which is fine. I mean, how often do you actually do that? Not often. So on the very rare occasion you need to tighten that up, you just got to take off I think these are T6s maybe on here. Kind of wish they were T8s, but T6s, on here. Take that off and tighten that up. But you can easily do that just straight up here, So that's one maybe advantage to the SKALLYWAG on that. So this right here has a Rockwell hardness of like 59 or so, plus or minus 59. So 57 to 61, something like that. And it's got a, you can, like I said, you can get different blade types on here. Different coatings on the blade for this. So you don't have to get this one. You can just get, a different kind with different, like aluminum scales or something else. You can get different kinds of blade steels on this. So it's very customizable. You can get a lot of different kinds of things on there. I do like the difference of the jimping, as I mentioned earlier. I like that forward jimping on this OKNIFE right here. Look at the belly profile on the blade. This has got a long sweeping belly up here. This one's more just kind of just going flat up to the tip. So maybe more tactical use for this, right? SKALLYWAG Tactical, I mean, that's what it's called. So that may be one thing for advantage of that. Or if you just like the big belly on here for slicing and cutting and, doing food prep or, everyday carry kind of stuff, this might be a really good thing. So, I do like how ergonomic this one is. It just feels kind of like, this one feels very blocky. To me, but it's still nice, no doubt, still nice. This one just feels a little bit more ergonomic in my hand. You can see the difference of the right there. So very similar. That's why I'm comparing these, because they're so similar. I think both great knives. I mean, I'm not dogging one or the other. I'm just going to tell you the difference between them. One other difference is that on the pocket clip on this one, it's only right-handed, okay? So you can only do that. This is ambidextrous. So you can actually take off that screw right there, flip this around to the other side. By the way, on this, like I said, I've got a whole video on that one, but on the OKNIFE Aion here, comes with a case, got a cleaning cloth, and of course, you've got some other extra screws with it. So just FYI on that. So if you want to, your case for this one. So, but you can switch this this part right here, this clip to the other side. So if you are a lefty, well then you're good to go for this one. This one, not so much. So that's another big difference. They're both about the same weight. Okay, so this is 3 ounces. This is 2.8 ounces. So essentially the same weight. Again, they're about the same size. This is 8 inches. This is 8.19 inches. So I mean, they're essentially the same size as well. But one big difference, of course, is that this one's $195 at the time of recording, so essentially $200. And this one is $70 at the time of recording. That's retail, okay? So these are both retail. Right now, they're both going a little bit cheaper, like on Amazon and other places. I'll drop links for these down below. I can check that out. So I'll try to drop links for different places that you can buy them down below. But what do you think? I mean, this one, I really like that blue pop right there on the anodized backspacer. I do like it that the SKALLYWAG is also more open right here. You can clean it out a little bit better. This one, it is open, but not as much, right? Not as much as that one. So it's gonna be a little bit harder to clean out, but you can still do it, which I very much appreciate. And it's got a longer space, which is also nice for the OKNIFE. So guys, tell me what you guys think. If you had to pick one of these, or if there's another, gentleman's folding knife that should be in this lineup, should be in this mix, then let me know. I'd love to look at some other knives as well in here. But again, there's pros and cons, you might say, between these two. They're both excellent blades. I mean, you can't go wrong with them, really. And I'm not really sure which I would pick. I kind of like the deployment on this one a lot more. I just love that deployment more. But there's some things about this one, as I mentioned, that I also really, really like. So I'm just trying to, I don't know, not sure yet. Jury's still out on that one. But go ahead and drop, below what kind of knife you would like. I mean, what kind of gentleman's folder? Again, a sleek kind of design that would be great for a suit or office business kind of purpose kind of thing. Go ahead and drop your recommendation down below. But thanks so much for your support for us and for our channel, and we will see you in the next video.